And in the spirit of the same introduction, hello, my name is Amer Mohammed, and I work at Stena Line. How many of you know about Stena Line? Okay, great. Then I don't have to explain. We're a big ferry operator in Europe. And my take on this presentation will be less maintenance and more about the bigger picture and what we do with analytics in the company and data science and AI in general. So the first reaction I get usually when I present is that, oh shit, we thought you were old guys on a ship. And after this presentation, I hope I'll change your mind about that. So, before I took on this job, I was a startup entrepreneur. Started 6 companies. I crashed 4 and I sold 2. And when I was approached by a big corporate, my first thought was, I don't think that's something for me. It's more like working for the IRS, or something similar to that. So I was very clear on a specific, I call it the digital mission statement. If I would take on this job, this is what the company has to aspire to achieve. So by 2021, Stena Line will be fully operated or assisted, as the official one is. Operated is more my version, by artificial intelligence. And I'll show you a little bit about what I mean when we say that. But just to give you a picture of why we're doing it, this is a timeline of humanity, if you will. And you can see that it has always been technical breakthroughs that push humanity forward. Always. There has never been anything else than a technological discovery or a breakthrough. It pushed us forward, it pushed society forward, it pushed our way of doing business forward. If you look at, for instance, the penicillin, up until the point of penicillin, it took humanity almost 2,000 years to increase the average lifespan with 10 years. So 2,000 years. Penicillin did the same thing in 15. So imagine what would happen today if we have nanobots or whatever it's coming now along the way, and we increase the average lifespan with 20 years during the next 10 years. All our social security system will just collapse completely. So this is the kind of breakthroughs I'm talking about. And what is coming ahead is bigger than all of those combined times 1,000. That's my personal belief. And you might ask, okay, I asked Siri this morning to do something for me, and she didn't understand, so I don't think you're right. You have to understand one thing about these technological breakthroughs. If you look at, for instance, the gap, the jump between steam and electricity, I read once this article about 4 professors in the States who were investigating or researching what happened during this transition. And they could see that almost 80% of all the Fortune 500 companies, they were gone after 30 years after this technological breakthrough. And they wanted to know why, what happened. So it turned out that every company knew about this new tech, and they did their business cases and return on investments and all that bullshit. And then they noticed that, okay, the efficiency increase, if we jump technologies, is around 30%. So some of them said, okay, let's do it. Others said, nah, we'll just improve what we have and close the gap. 30 years later, they found out that the companies that jumped on this new tech, they increased the efficiency by 3,000%. So why were they so wrong? It turned out that when we are building factories for steam power machines, then you have to build the machines close to the source. You cannot transfer steam power. But with the electricity, you can. It doesn't diminish over distance. But how would you know that if you have never seen electricity? You have to try it, and then you figure it out. The same thing is with AI. You have no idea what it can do. There's only one way of finding it out, by doing it. So this is why we're jumping on that. And the second reason is that companies, especially companies with big resources, they used to, during the information age, they used to gain competitive advantage by using technology. Today, with my credit card, I can buy the same tech as Stena Line's credit card. The same. The same kind of 60 years of research from IBM as Watson for $99 a month. I can use Google's TensorFlow, which took them $8 billion to develop. They just gave it away for free. So there is no advantage that Stena Line can get that I cannot get. None. None whatsoever. The same amount of compute power, I can rent everything. So technology is a commodity. So for us, the reason we're doing all this AI and analytics and so on is that the only way to compete for any brand in the future is by using a superior experience for the customer. That's the only way. So the reason we're using predictive analytics for our ships is not because we want to, okay, of course, we want to cut costs and so on, but the focus is that we want to limit the impact that maintenance has on our company so that we can focus on something else, not to cut people or fire people or anything like that. So that's the only reason, nothing else. We're even more people now than when we started 2 years ago, because more people are working on the experience of the brand. So this is a real scenario of one of our terminals. And I mean, if I want to make this woman here switch lanes, I cannot, I mean, I can tell her we use predictive maintenance. Will she care? She doesn't give a shit. Or I can tell her we have the latest patches in our servers. Doesn't do anything for her. The only thing that can make her switch lines is the superior experience. Nothing else. I don't care what you do. The experience is the most important part. Everything else is a commodity that anyone has access to today. And it's not just the experience within the same industry. A lot of arguments I hear sometimes is, for instance, if I see something cool in the new Spotify release, then I tell, for instance, some of my colleagues, you know, in Spotify you can swipe like this and then this happens. It's really cool. Yeah, but this is the music industry. We're the shipping industry. Doesn't matter. It's on the same screen. Is that the argument you will give the customer? They're next to each other. It says Stena Line, it says Spotify. For them, it's the same. So it's not only the experience within our industry, it's the experience within this real estate. So, to be able to focus on the experience as much as we want to, we need to automate everything that can be automated. So that's the reason why we do it. And I mean, there are two ways to achieve this. Either we hire 6,000 more people to focus on the experience and leave the same amount of people on the main manual labor today, and then we double our prices, and then we're out of business in 15 years, or we simply automate as much as we can and move our people to focus on the experience, to focus on how can we add more value to the company, to the customer, and so on. So I'll give you a few examples of what we're doing, and I hope this will spur ideas in the bigger picture. So one of the projects we have is Stena, which is a chatbot. You know about chatbots, I guess. It's a machine that you can talk to. And the idea for Stena is not, I mean, a chatbot is a gimmick that doesn't work very well today. And that's not the point of the chatbot. The point of the chatbot is that this is the future we believe in. First came the internet. That changed everything. Then we had the smartphone in 2007 that also changed everything. And messaging is the next platform. So this is why we're doing Stena, not because of the chatbot. So we're building as a platform for the future. This is one example from her now. You can try her out on Facebook Messenger if you want. Just search Stena chatbot. Or a couple of months ago, we started letting Stena answer emails. So if you send an email to the German or to the Swedish market and you ask about the ticket, then Stena is replying back to you. And the reason we can do this is because traditionally, what companies do when they use a chatbot, they immediately go to a third-party service, and then they buy the chatbot service. We had a little different approach. What we do is we build a platform that doesn't care what the input is. Is it an email? Is it a SMS? Is it a Facebook Messenger? It doesn't matter. It all goes through to the same platform. And then we use third-party services for natural language processing, in this case Watson, natural language understanding and classifications and stuff like that. So and the reason we build it as a platform is because we want to allow others to connect to it. And if everything goes as planned, we will open source this platform to the community, so others can use it. Another project that uses heavily machine learning and AI techniques is something we call price matching intelligence. And if you've been on our retail shops on board, this is how we promote our products. Our prices are always cheaper than on land. The problem with this is that we cannot simply use web scraping to find our competitor prices, because everything changes. Because we're in the travel segment, so it's different product size and different EIN number and different names and descriptions and so on. So when we use web scraping, we find like 7 or 8% match. So the idea was that, okay, so we use humans that spend like, humans, I talk about like they're some kind of species, but we use people. We use people that come into us 16 weeks a year, and twice 8, and manually search all the products and then update our prices. But then we thought, okay, if a person can do it, then for sure an AI can do it. So we built a small prototype using these technologies. Now, I'm not a data scientist, so I don't know what they all mean, but it sounds cool, at least, especially the third one. But we run this project for, I think it was 4.5 weeks. And in the first iteration, it had 90% match, product match. So it worked very, very well. And now we went from updating the prices twice a year to once a week. So this was a huge success for us. And then this is something, if you go to YouTube, you can search for the movie there. It's 5 minutes long, so I don't have time to show it here. But one of the biggest issues I faced when talking to different parts of the company is that if you go to HR, for instance, and you tell them that, okay, let's jump on the digitalization train, then everyone seems to believe that, okay, we're going to digitalize our thing, and then we don't talk to the other parts of the company because they do their thing. But what you need to understand in a world of IoT is that everything is connected. And I'll show you an example of that, of what I mean. So we have a process in our company called trade management, and this is revenue management and yielding, so optimizing the capacity, the car deck. So what they do is they forecast number of passengers, and they do it today using Excel. So you have Excel, and then you drag to the right, and then you see the outcome. But this is statistics. It's not machine learning. So they can see like 30 days into the future, around 88% accurate. So we thought, okay, let's try and see if we can use machine learning to do the same thing and take it further. So instead of just using booking data like previously, we use now web data, weather, macroeconomic data, and all kinds of data sources. I don't know all of them. I'm not the one working with this. So we use now machine learning, and these models from the start, it took us 50 years to perfect the statistical models. It took the data science team 6 weeks to beat those models with machine learning. So now they predict around 94% accuracy, and they look 90 days into the future, not only 30 days. So it's 3 times longer. In some cases, 18 months. It's really scary. I don't understand how that works, but It works. And this is what a trade manager does traditionally today, and they stop there. But when everything is connected, the digital butterfly effect, you can take this further. So if you can predict the number of passengers, using the loyalty program and the data from that, we can also predict what kind of segments will we have on board. Because this is very easy for machine learning to do. You just mix the data, say I, but the people who do it, they make it look so easy. And then, of course, after that, you can also predict what will they buy, because you have it from the loyalty program. They swipe their loyalty card on board. And once you know what they will buy, then you can also figure out how much will they buy. That's also a no-brainer from after that step. And then if you connect it to the warehouse, you can just auto-order it and ship it to the ship. So there is no person involved in this whatsoever. And this is what I mean when I say the digital butterfly effect. And the movie illustrates this in a better way than what I'm doing right now. And if you know which segments you will have on board, you can also understand, okay, what kind of staff do we need? And how many do we need? So today we do that manually, but if you can see 3 months into the future, and also you can see that, okay, on this particular departure, we will have a lot of children. Then if you have digitalized the HR department, you have to do it in a way so that the other departments can speak to it through APIs. So we can auto-schedule everyone based on their competence and profile and so on. And also to understand what the net result will be, because previously, 2 weeks after a departure, we know if it's profitable or not. But we want to know 3 months in advance if it's going to be profitable or not. So we can take the appropriate actions. Maybe if the algorithms are predicting that, okay, you have low amounts of this segment on this particular departure, and it tells us that 6 weeks in advance, then we can take action on that. Maybe marketing campaigns targeted to that segment. And of course, all other databases has to be connected to the same thing. So what previously was only one bubble is now a cascade, a chain, the digital butterfly effect. And this is impossible for one person to take care of. So to skip that, to do something that solves this, we built, or we are building a solution that we call trade management intelligence. You know, if you add intelligence to the world, it sounds smart. So I add intelligence to everything. So this complexity, of course, cannot be taken care of for humans. So we're building a solution, and we made a movie, and I will show you that short movie. So this is a very exciting project for us. And the last thing I want to talk about is what I usually call the new core competence in the company. And these are the stars that make this happen, what I talk about. In this picture, there are only 5 of them. Today they are, I'm not keeping up very well, but I think there are 14 now. And in 2 weeks, May 21st, one of the more prominent AI figures in Scandinavia has joined Stena Line. So he will work as head of AI. And the point of this is I want to make you understand that this is the core competence of the future in any company. And this is something that is sometimes tough to hear, especially for a conservative industry like ours. But these are the new stars of the organization. And I'm hoping that we will be 40 data scientists before next summer. When I said that 1.5 years ago, people were laughing at me, but today they're 14 and growing strong. And my job is a lot to... Have you seen this movie? So this is Wonder Woman, a very good movie. And in one of the scenes, she puts down her shield to protect the teams behind her. So my job is very much like that. I protect those new kind of next generation colleagues from these kind of words, so they don't have to get bothered by... because you need to understand that some of these things are quick wins, others are more long-term learning and investments. So we don't very much focus on what can be yielded next quarter, but more about, okay, what's next year or 2 years from now. And for the new generation, some of these things, they don't work at all, like steering groups. That's the first time I ever heard about it. And I've had a successful career. And I never heard about steering groups until I came to a big organization. I really don't understand it. It's 6 people telling 3 people what to do. I don't get it, but it is what it is. So that's what I do mostly. Yeah, I think that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, then we have 5 minutes for questions. Then I'm not sure if in the audience any question.
It was crystal clear.
I can actually start because in 2016 you were at the conference and you were presenting how to persuade people in a very effective way how to do something, and it's the psychology behind naming something, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking here is that we asked the delegates actually to send us questions regarding the panel, etc. And as in any other function, the question is, how do I persuade the value of our investments in this area, let's call it now maintenance analytics or asset management performance, in order to get the investments and the insight and the value from, the buy-in from the stakeholders. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Because I think it's very interesting.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you know me now, and you know that I like movies. So you can either stand up here and tell a lot of techno mumbo-jumbo, which no one understands. And especially if you tell that to the senior management, they don't want to feel stupid, so they just say no. But what I like to do is I like to use simple names. 2 years ago when we started the data lake project, we called it Pluto. And now when I wanted to introduce, this AI initiative, I mean, I could say we need to have AI. But if you say the digital butterfly effect, everyone remembers it. Everyone. I don't have that T-shirt because I spilled coffee on it this morning, but I printed 2,000 T-shirts. It has a butterfly right here. And we did the YouTube movie, and I did this movie. And now, in every meeting, every VP and senior and director, whenever someone comes in to see them, the first thing they ask is, okay, but does that support the digital butterfly effect? I'm not sure they know exactly what it is, but it's easy to understand. And it makes them feel, smart and so on. So don't underestimate the simplicity of things. Just because you wear a tie or a dress, it doesn't mean you should talk like an asshole. No, sorry, you know what I mean. Keep it simple, be childish. It's not the end of the world.